we will start the meeting. Kirsty will not be joining us today, but I'm going to call this meeting to order for the December 2nd, 2020. First thing is to read the order from the governor. Is pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Municipal Building Committee is being conducted by a remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by turning into Westborough TV. First thing is, do we have a motion to accept the minutes of the November 4th meeting?
I will move the minutes of whatever that one was.
It's moved by Peter O'Neill. Do we have a second?
Yeah, second, Al.
Okay, do we have a roll call vote? Dexter?
Aye.
Peter O'Neill?
Yes.
Jim Stewart?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Al Gordon, yes, so it's unanimous. Okay, I guess we'll now turn it over to Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, committee members, Brian, Jonathan, everyone. Can you see my screen with the report cover sheet?
Not yet.
No. No?
You're not presenting.
Oh, the heck. How's that?
Coming up. Here we go.
Is that a yes now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good. So kind of the same format that we've been going through, kind of the project update. We'll go through some other reports. So some participation, certainly from Five Star. I believe Jonathan Ennis is on the call this morning. Maybe also some input from Jim Stewart, who's been working with Jonathan over the past 30 days with respect to some of these items. So, Jonathan, if you're there, could you maybe give us an update on the punch list status and the rooftop units?
So as far as the punch list goes, I believe there's only 2 items left, one of which should be taken care of tomorrow, and that's that fire alarm antenna coming off the side of the building. And then there's a special caller that needs to go over these exterior vents down on the bottom level. And that's actually getting fabbed by Adams. He said he was on site the other day. And as soon as it's done in the shop, he'll go back and put that on. And that should complete the punch list 100%. The site survey was one of the last outstanding things as well. Approved, brought the hard copies and digitals out. And I guess I take that back as being 100% complete because I do know that training is on there. And we've scheduled as much as we could up through December. And now we're just going to have to work out the last final dates to get them in, hopefully in January or February. And at that point, that should bring the punch list to a complete status.
Jonathan, would you be updating on the screen now is the September 22nd updated punch list from your office. It's a couple of pages in length, as you can see here. Will your office be updating this list with respective comments on the far side as complete? And will a date be established for a final walkthrough verification?
So I believe there was a newer version of that sent over. I could be wrong. Just I'll double check, but if not, yes, we'll definitely. But I'm pretty positive that one was sent after that one. But as far as a walkthrough goes, it is going to be difficult to get Matt and I on the same schedule. So, I mean, if you guys have a date in mind, then one of us can find time.
I'd like to do it this week if we can.
Okay. I know Matt's out this week, but what day were you thinking?
Well, for me personally, I'm available. I'd like to get this behind us. I know it's going to rely on Jim Stewart, Facilities Director, and certainly Fred Leonardo, the Building Commissioner. So, just to pick up where we left off the last time we did this.
I'm gonna have to go check my calendar. I can't just answer this right here.
So what I'll do to move the question forward is I'll work with Fred, Jim, Matt, Rex, and myself. We'll get a date sooner rather than later and put this in front of us within the next, say, 5 to 8 business days.
All right, and just please note that Matt is on vacation until next Monday.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Peter, just to let you know, we've been joined also, Fred's on here, and I believe Selectman Ian Johnson is also on the call.
Oh, very good. Good morning, Mr. Johnson. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. I don't know who
Okay.
Mr. Johnson is. You can call me Ian.
Hello. Very well, I will. Thank you. Okay, if nobody minds, any further questions on item 3A, number 1, the contractor's punch list? Any questions? If not, we'll move down to the rooftop units. If, Jonathan, you want to give us an update on that?
So I actually just received comments back this morning and late from Adams and AJ, and it looks from their responses to the commissioning log that they've done quite a bit of reprogramming, and they've also installed the RTU blower fan. And at this point, I need to look over their comments, but I believe the majority of what needed to be done is complete, and then they were looking for a few responses back. And I didn't get a clear answer from AJ Roberto if they're going to need to meet the commissioning agent one more time on site. But if so, I believe that will be one of the last. And then any other issues that they're ironing out should be noted on the CX log, which again, I just got the comments back from Adams this morning, so I haven't had time to review.
So okay. Jim, I'm going to ask you to jump in a little bit if you could. But before that, Jonathan, will the commissioning agent's corrective action log be updated and responded to so we can take action on that?
Yes, I actually just sent that over this morning. You might not have got the email yet, but
Okay.
I sent it over right after Adam sent it to me. It should have been around 8 o'clock, 8:15.
Okay. Jim, I think the commissioning agent should make a return visit as a verification of the reprogramming of the system. But I'll let you jump in a little bit, Jim. Go ahead.
I absolutely agree that either the commissioning agent or Tony needs to come here and explain to me why, since Wednesday, I've had 145 alarms mainly directed to the boilers and the pumps in the basement, not necessarily the RTUs. I spoke with Tony. Well, I didn't speak with him. I emailed him briefly. He responded yesterday afternoon. I emailed him last week, and yesterday afternoon was the first response I got from him. And I think that's after Jonathan put a flame under his butt. But anyway, he said that he was doing some programming last week, so that could have triggered all the alarms. But I'm not necessarily buying that because as of this morning, they come through constantly. And these are alarms that I've never seen before. This is all heated related with the boiler plants and the pumps. So if he's saying he's, completed the CX report, corrective action, something's wrong. Something's not programmed right because I have gone over to verify. When I receive something that a boiler is down or a pump is down, I go to the building and check. And when they first started coming in, I went over there last week and everything was fine. The pumps were running, the building was up to temperature, everything seemed to be fine. But the alarms have not stopped coming. It's constant. So I definitely feel like there's something wrong. Tony did throw, one of his responses was, well, Monday we had the storm and because Monday I must have received 50 alarms. He goes, well, it was probably power fluctuations. Well, we keep throwing that around as a thing, but I was in the building all day in both buildings, the town hall and here. We had no power issues on Monday up until when I left at 5:30. The lights had never blinked here. So I'm not saying the town didn't have any, but nothing happened at these buildings that would have caused all these multiple alarms to be coming through. And they're all related to the boiler and hot water pumps, pump 1 and pump 2. So I definitely think we need to have, this looked at by NV5 and verify some of these more important items and try to figure out why we don't have, we keep getting all these alarms.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jim.
Peter, I have a question for Jonathan. He said that the
Certainly.
units have been repaired. Does that mean all 3 units up on the roof are functioning now?
As far as I know, yes, they are. I have not heard that there's been any other issues other than what Jim's bringing up now with these alarms going off, which, as he said, AJ Roberto is confident that that is because of the programming that he's done, but he'll have to prove that and confirm with NV5 before we can be sure and to make sure that they don't continue to happen.
Well,
Thank you.
I shouldn't be getting alarms on something that's running and functioning properly. I mean, it almost becomes a boy that cried wolf. And I can't, if I get alarms to say the boiler is down or a pump is down, I can't ignore it. And unless I'm going to move my bed into the Forbes building, maybe I can take one of those cells, hopefully the one that has hot water. I don't know how you expect me to address this or live with this because it's ridiculous. I've sent you screenshots, Jonathan. This isn't just 1 or 2 alarms. This is constant throughout the day. So something is wrong.
That's understood, and I'm definitely pushing AJ Roberto to give us more of a response than what he has. And, as of yesterday, it was the first time I personally heard of the alarms. So I'm definitely going to do what I can to dig more into it.
Well, I included you in on it yesterday because it's been going on since last week. And I've been going back trying to deal with the vendors, Tony and with Adams on this. They're both aware of it. They were aware of it from the day it started happening. And when I came to work Monday and I'm still getting the same stuff that I was getting last Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I sent it to you to make you aware of it, see if you could get some clarification. I also want to bring up the RTUs. I'm not aware of RTU 3 being repaired. I know that Adams has been on site working on RTU 1 because that's been down for the last 3 weeks. There was some condensing fan motor. The blades on the fan itself came loose and fell off and destroyed the inside of the squirrel cage where the fans are. So yesterday, John was here from Adams along with another guy, I don't know who it was, and they repaired that. And RTU1 is now up and running. But I'm not aware that any repairs have been made to RTU3. We're not in cooling anymore, so that really the only thing that's that the RTU is doing is providing the fresh air for the building and the circulation of the heat. So the issues as far as RTU3, unless you can prove to me that they've already replaced that fan and replaced those motors and done everything that was on the list, I'm not aware of that. I didn't know they had been up there doing it. I just know they've been working on RTU1.
Okay, I can verify that with them, and it may even be addressed in the CX log once I get a moment to look at it this afternoon. Give me a better idea on that unit.
Jonathan, this is Al Gordon again. I have a question. I think starting in September, we raised the issue about the warranty on the units because they had not been functioning since they were installed. Are we going to get something in writing that we're getting an extended warranty on those units?
So yeah, we did provide a response from Adams that did say they were in agreement that some extension was definitely warranted, and they just wanted to be able to speak with someone from the town and work details out. But after that response that we gave, that's the last follow-up we've had back. So
can you have somebody from them either reach out to Jim Stewart or Christy Williams so that we can get that nailed down and we can get that in writing, please?
yes.
Hey, Al, Peter Collins should be on top of that, making sure that we got that documentation back. Peter?
Yes, sir, I am. I have been, and I did read the letter. It's rather limited. I will use that word in terms of the extension of the warranty. We have other aspects of the rooftop units that need to be covered, in my opinion, regarding an extension of the warranty. The letter from Adams did not cover all the bases required. That letter is under review. We've had a discussion with town council as well.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to suggest that. All right, so I think that's where it should be, Al, not with Jim or with anybody on our side. Let Peter handle it through and make sure that the council is satisfied with it.
Right. But Peter, could you also just keep Christie up to date on what's happening with that too, please?
Oh, absolutely. I have been. It's been a couple of weeks since we talked about that particular topic, but most certainly the full extension of warranty that one would expect should be in place, and that's under discussion currently.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Jim and Jonathan, if I could suggest, I will, after this meeting, I will send an email to the two of you. I'd like to maybe, if this works, set up a phone call or a virtual Zoom meeting with, say, Jim Stewart, 5-Star, the commissioning agent, Adams Plumbing and Heating, and AJ Roberto to talk about the rooftop units that was just mentioned. Then I'd like to follow up with maybe later in the week or first part of next week, an on-site meeting with everyone as well to run through the paces of the rooftop units, kind of a touch and see what is physically done, and check out the commissioning and the programming of what's been discussed this morning, if that works.
Peter, just so you know, I do have next week on the 9th and 10th, Adams is going to be at the building. We have training, 2 days of training with them on the 9th and the 10th. So okay. Possibly one of those days, we could take some time, maybe on the second day, on the 10th, and, to do this, because I do have it in my calendar that we have training. As far as meeting next week, right now, as far as me or my team is concerned, I have training on the 8th, 9th, and 10th set up. We have lighting on the 8th, and then Adams on the 9th and 10th. I think one of those days is going to be with Tony Roberto. And then the other one, I think, is with either Wes or one of the people from Adams.
Okay. Okay. Why don't I start after this, at least get a phone call or a Zoom meeting with everybody to talk about this with the mechanical contractor and the commissioning agent as well, just to talk through what Jonathan and you discussed regarding rooftop unit number 3 and all the alarms, for example. Okay.
I just have a comment on all of this, Peter O'Neill.
Yes.
We've been dealing with these rooftop units since before they were ordered, getting them in, getting them here, get them installed. It just seems to me that we're snake bit on this thing. Every meeting we have, well, we got a problem with the heating cooling system, and oh, it's a part here, a fuse there, a fan fell off and destroyed us. I mean, I have no faith in all in these systems. I mean, I don't have any. I'm not asking for necessarily answers. I'm very uncomfortable with these units. We just have nothing but problem. Jim shouldn't be getting all these messages saying that there's defaults and all these things. I don't know where we go, but I don't think these units are worth a tinker's damn. Just a small commentary.
Peter, I can offer this. Your comments are valid. They've been shared with other people in the past. Town council is aware of this. A notification from town council to bonding surety company has been written regarding the rooftop units. The condition of them, the continuation of issues that arise from the rooftop units. This discussion continues to be ongoing. I don't have all the information regarding current status or responses from the surety company or the bonding agent, I should say, or town council at this time, but I know that discussion is certainly on the table.
Well, not that I can do anything personally, but this is very frustrating. If I bought a car that acted like these heaters, it had been sitting in the showroom of the dealers a long ago. There's nothing seems to be right with these things. Jim Stewart's running around like his hair's on fire. Oh, you don't have any hair. Sorry about that, Jim. But it's just unbelievable. Being in business myself for all these years, I could never have a problem like this go on. I have no faith in these units. I mean, I think we're going to be forever working on these units and trying to get them right. Is this new technology that they just invented that nobody's worked the problems out with? To me, it comes down to a basic thing. You got a fan that moves. You got a heating unit. You got equipment that puts it in one spot. Moves the air one way or another. And we don't seem to get any of these things working right. Half of them ain't working half the time. To me, I don't know what the answer is, but I'm not happy with these units, and I'm not living with it every day. But every meeting, how many months now have we been on these rooftop units and the heating boilers and false reports? It's every month. I hate to see that we gotta have to listen to the rooftop unit problems. I'm kind of tired of it.
I would
I'll
agree.
get off my soapbox.
I would agree, Peter. It's been no less than 12 to 14 months we've been talking about the rooftop units every month. Okay.
Well, that seems to be the only thing that we got going on is we're talking, and people come out and look at things and tell us there's a fluctuation of electrical. Well, I don't know. I mean, are these that sensitive? I just don't understand it. I mean, I know I live in the dinosaur age, but I don't understand this kind of crap. And I know that we have been talking about it, but we don't seem to get the next step down the line where it actually works to its parameters, and we don't have to get all these false reports. It's just me venting. I realize that these wheels turn very slow to get things fixed, but man, oh man, this is incredible.
Well, you're not alone, Peter. I'd agree with you 150%. This is ridiculous.
We ready to move on to number 3, Peter?
Certainly. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Moving down the list, the next item on item 3, Roman numeral 4, the Johnson Controls invoice for rooftop unit 3. Just thought I'd keep it on the list as a discussion point. I know we have not taken, at least the OPM's office has not taken action for recommendation for payment. I know Jim Stewart and I had a conversation regarding why is this a town of Westborough expense, wherein we just talked about the rooftop units at length. I just thought I'd keep it on here if anybody wants to add any further thought.
Same as we said last month, Peter. That should not be a town expense.
I'd like
going to say that
Go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to say that I spoke with Adams, and they were willing to speak with the town and discuss this charge. So if we could wrap that into the other discussion of the extension of warranty, to get something settled on both ends.
Peter, can that go through you?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman. I'll shepherd that through. I'll take care of this with Jim Stewart and the project team. Yep.
Okay, let's see if we can get a resolution by the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we need to do it kind of quickly. Johnson Controls has been calling the town, matter of fact, even in off hours to find out where this payment is. They're calling the Linda and Leah directly. So there's definitely some concern on getting this, this invoice paid, or at least getting Johnson Controls some status so they know what's going on. I know that Linda did speak with them, and Peter, I think you saw that email that, she's been getting calls after hours, but we do, need to get this rectified.
Agreed. This is Peter Collins. I did speak, I shared emails with Linda Smith, Town Accountant's Office, and I will contact Johnson Controls and let them know the status and give them an update so they don't harass the Town Accountant's Office.
Are these invoices, Peter O'Neill here, these invoices are for Johnson Control to come in and repair parts on these rooftop units that never worked in the first place?
Pretty much, yes.
Well, I agree with Dexter. Shouldn't be coming to us.
We agree.
Coming to somebody else.
This has been on the list though for a couple, 3 months, Peter.
No, I know. I'm just sitting here thinking about it as I listen to this crap all the time about the rooftop units.
Yeah,
If they weren't part of the problem, then certainly they need to be paid. But by us, I don't think so.
You're right. I agree 150% on that one too. The thing is that it's been on here for 3 months with no resolution. That should not be also.
Right.
So, Peter Collins, you need to jump on this one and get it straightened out. Tell him to Bill Adam.
Dexter, I'm aware of that, and just not to.
Okay, thank you.
This is the second month. This came out last month, just so you know.
Okay.
So I agree. We'll take. It's been on the list. We're gonna address it. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll move down the list to number 5.3, owner training status. I know there was some conversation about certain dates, but how about an overall summary from Jonathan?
So at this point, we've had the plumbing fully complete, the fire protection is complete as well. We've had Energy Electric schedules their generator training, and then the light training is up and coming. We have AJ Roberto doing a training day upcoming, as well as Adams. And then once those are complete, that leaves us with a handful of days that need to be scheduled into January and February, a couple which are for Adams and AJ Roberto, and the last remaining ones for Energy Electric. And then Roberto had suggested potentially doing the remainder of their control training via video conference, and everything would be able to be recorded and saved as their video, which might actually be more beneficial than an in-person because it is going to be all digital. But that's something that I was looking to talk with Jim Stewart more on. But once those last final dates are scheduled, we should be able to button up training as long as the final videos are accepted. And that's really it for the training, unless Jim has something more to add.
I know we've got, like I stated earlier, we have 3 days next week scheduled for training. After that, we'll see where we are. We did have our generator training with the company that installed the generator came out, and we did that was good training. It was we learned a lot about what we do and what our maintenance contract handles, stuff that we should be checking. So it was good. It went well. I haven't seen the video yet, but the training was definitely good for me and my crew. Moving forward, I'm really looking to, in need of spending more time with Tony. I know he's been making changes to the programming, but there's still issues that I would like to at least one more training with him that he is in room together. Where we can social distance there's only 3 on my side and then him, so there's only 4 of us. We can do it in the Great Hall, we can social distance, but I want some hands-on so he can physically show me, and I can try it on my laptop, right next to him, and make sure that I'm getting the same thing and I have the same credentials, let's say, as he has, because sometimes I feel like when I go in, I should be able to change something, and I go in and I hover over it and click on it, and it doesn't let me in to change it. So I just want, to make sure that, he understands what I'm looking to do, and I understand there's certain aspects of the programming that I don't want to be able to get into because I don't want to mess anything up. But I think when it comes to making any type of adjustments to the heating or cooling in the building, I should have access to everything that entails that. So I do want to do one more for sure in person with Tony. and then from there, we could probably set it up as a Zoom, but I do want to just have that initial one more training with him.
Jim, can you also bring up the topic that was brought to your attention by the person with the generator, with the issues out there? Because ultimately, they may end up costing us some money.
Yeah, so during the training that we had with the generator people, the guy who came out, he basically does the training. He wasn't, people that installed it or anything like that. And the first thing he said when he got there is, why the hell's that thing way up in the air like that? He said that it makes it impossible, virtually impossible, to do any maintenance on that. At least the big maintenance when they have to change oils in the diesel motors and all of that stuff, to handle that working off of a 10-foot ladder. He suggested quite strongly that a catwalk be installed on both sides of that unit so that somebody that comes in, even the guy just coming to pump the fuel, because you have to access the generator to get to the fuel tank, doesn't have to pull up a ladder and pull his hose up the ladder and reach down in the tank to get to the. So it made some sense. So I reached out to South Street Welding, company that the town has used many years, and had him come out and take a look at it. I stopped by his shop when I was talking, when I went to see him, and he actually has some aluminum material already made up that was for another job that was canceled. So he was going to go down and take a look at the actual unit and see if this stuff would work for us. And basically what it entails is putting a catwalk on both sides, probably 2 feet or more, 30 inches wide. It'd be aluminum with a ladder that comes off the end, so that you can get up there and work on it safely. Would have a railing safely, and you could carry your tools up. But if you need buckets for oil, there's a place to set them. It makes total sense. So he's putting together, he came and he measured out everything. He's putting together a price for me. I imagine I'll either hear back from him this week or early next week with that. And once I get it, I'll share it with the committee and let them know where it is. But, that's a cost that is going to be coming down the pike, because one way or another, I'm going to get it done.
You're going to need Maya to look at that and make sure that that's, it's going to be all safe, and they're going to insure it if anybody falls off it. All the safety regulations on anything on a catwalk and the railing and all that will have to be all certified through our insurance company. They'll have to look at that and make sure that it's okay.
Yeah, Wally, I talked to Wally about that. He's there's a certain height. He knows what all the regulations are. So it'll all be made to meet all types of codes as far as railings and stuff like that.
Right. I'd like to just make sure that he doesn't attach it to the generator, and it may invalidate the warranty that we have on the generator.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not going to be attached to the generator or the fuel tank. There's actually an I-beam in between the two. That there's the tank, and then there's an I-beam, and then the generator sits on the I-beam. It's going to be attached to that I-beam. In looking at it, he said there wouldn't be a problem attaching it to that. You're not going to touch either the fuel tank or the generator.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not going to be cheap. That's money.
Okay. Should I keep going, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, Jim, if you're good, and Jonathan, you're good with the owner training, and that seems like it's pretty much in the queue, we can move on to the next one if you're all set, Jim. Okay. Closeout documentation with respect to paperwork, manuals, and the certified site survey as-built document. Status of that from anyone? I believe the town engineer's office was currently reviewing and commenting on that.
Yes, and since then it has been fully approved, and I've dropped off hard copies and digital copies to Jim Stewart and Fred.
Fred on still?
I think Fred and Jim's microphones are muted if they want to say yes or no to the acceptance of the site as built drawing.
Yeah, I was over there with Fred. He reviewed them then, and everything's complete with that. The only thing, Jonathan, that we still haven't received, or I haven't received anyway, is the architectural plans. The hard copy that you had left me was never complete to begin with, but you did provide me a digital copy, which would have been sufficient. I'm fine with that. I don't need another hard copy, but the digital copy, when I put it in to review, it only had the first 2 pages. And Fred Leonardo's didn't work at all. So you had stated that you would get us another USB with the architecturals, and just haven't received it yet.
Yeah, so I actually did drop them off a couple of months back, and I had sent an email. I can look back on when, and that was actually on a Friday, and no one was in, and I was let in by somebody, and I put them on Fred's desk with a binder. I remember we had gone over this one other time, and he said that he didn't remember fully if they were left on his desk, but I did bring 2 new copies of them. If they don't surface, I can bring another 2 copies, but I can pick up when they were dropped off.
Yeah, well, they haven't surfaced. I understand. I remember you saying that a month or 2 back, that you had dropped them off. I mean, that's all well and good, Jonathan, but coming to the building, and then going in and Fred, nobody was there, and you just leave something on a desk, isn't the way that we transmit documents. And I think you know that. I don't need to tell you that, but.
I actually emailed prior to going, and then I also there was someone at the desk that let me in the back to drop it off. So I wasn't just in there alone, but
Okay.
It may just be easier to give you 2 new copies to squash this completely.
That would be fine.
Okay. Any other documentation with respect to closeout that's outstanding?
I'm sorry, I missed part of that conversation, but the site plans have been approved through engineering. So we have a stamp from engineering, so they've gone through it and they're okay with it. The only other closeout documents is the final punch list. So once we do that walkthrough, presumably I'd have what I need on my end.
Yes, agree. Yeah, agree, Fred. And we're going to try to get that scheduled real soon.
Yep.
Right. Fred wasn't on the initial call, I don't think, so he may have missed it. Jonathan said there's 2 things left on the punch list.
Yeah, I know. I heard that part.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving down. Next item, the maintenance stock items, such as the surplus material for maintenance. Back and forth, Jonathan and Jim. I know there's been some correspondence and some activity in that arena. Anything you want to update us on that one, please?
Yes, so there's been a significant amount of attic stock dropped off. I'm waiting to get the transmittal from Adams just to get everything put together and make sure that they dropped off everything that was on the original list. The list will be updated with the full energy electric list that was sent over as an informal list originally. And I know they have dropped off what they had in stock, and they do have a big order in with their lighting company that's still shipping. There was some delays. I will also be bringing some acoustical tile ceiling stock as well as the cross piece. And I know that we are also waiting on a painting shipment that Bureau has been rescheduling with Sherwin-Williams, and it happened on a couple occasions, and he's now saying that he's spoken with the rep and that they plan on having it out early this Friday. They did provide a stock list, which I will add to the updated list, and then I should probably go over it with Jim so we can get on the same page, make sure that he's satisfied with everything, and if there's anything missing, we can determine what's still owed.
Yeah, as far as that goes, I did receive some attic stock from Energy. It was just a partial list. I have the actually, I don't have a transmittal. All I do have is the basically the packing list of what they delivered. It wasn't an official transmittal. So, Jonathan, if you want to make one of those up, if you have that list also for the book, that'd be fine. As far as the paint goes, I'm really frustrated with this. It's 3 times now we've had scheduled deliveries and 3 times that there's been no-shows. You know, I'm sick of wasting my time, you know, or one of my men's time hanging around to wait for, you know, these painting people that just don't show up and don't bother calling to cancel. It's just, you know, total BS if you ask me. You know, 3 times. I mean, once I understand things happen, but, you know, this is 3 times now. So, you know, I hope he gets his act together with this. Also, Jonathan, I spoke with you about having some type of a legend that tells me what paint is in what room and what area. You know, the colors are the same, but what I understand is that the sheens on some of the walls are different. And it's led to, when we've been doing some touch up, that, you know, we think we have the right color. Danny goes in and does the painting, and then you can it's the wrong sheen, and you have to go back and repaint it again. So I'd like to have that. I know you, in an email correspondence with you, you referred to a drawing that I was unable to locate. I don't know if that was on the architecturals, and that, you know, is one of the pages I don't have, but I was unable to locate it. So I'd like to just, you know, number one, get on the same page with you and find out. I want to know what paint goes in what, you know, what room and what area, so that there's no confusion to me or my guys or any subs that we might have in there when we need paint. We're going through it right now with the repair of the from the water damage on the basement level of the you know, of the police department. You know, I believe I have the color laid down what it is, but I just don't know what sheen it was, and I can't find you know, where that is, where that information is. So we need to get that straightened out, and also get some of the attic stock there with the paint, you know, as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Hey, Al, can I ask a question? Jim, have you checked with Brian and see if he's got a list of the paints and the sheens and whatever else that goes on the various walls?
Yeah, they are on the architecturals, Jim, and I can get you the finished plans and legends.
Okay, Brian, if you could do that. I assume that's where they were when he sent me the, you know, Brian, Jonathan sent me the page that it was on, and I went through, I only have a hard copy, and I went through it, and then I couldn't find it. That information wasn't there. So if you could send it over, that'd be very helpful.
Yep, I can do that, Jim.
Thank you,
Brian.
If I may ask Jonathan and Jim, I know the two of you have been exchanging communications regarding training and maintenance stock. Do we have a master log of what has been done and signed off and agreed to, so we can close certain items and what remains open?
So there is a master log, and everything that is on there is, from my opinion, accounted for. So unless there's a dispute, that's what's been given. There is items on there that you'll see they're marked as they're still outstanding, which are the items that are on order. But everything else that I've listed on there, in my opinion, and from previous documentation, it's in the building. So that's another reason why, if I go over this with Jim Stewart and there's issues that he feels are on there, then we can discuss them and work them out.
Okay, could I ask you, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, in all due respect, I mean, opinions are great, but, you know, it's the facts that we want to deal with here. And, you know, I'd like to see, I mean, I understand back months and months ago, you provided me with, you know, 5% of this or 8% of that and stuff. I just want physical counts, not percentages. I want to know, okay, 100 boxes was, you know, of ceiling tiles were used. You get 20%, so here's 20 boxes. You know, I want it down to what I'm supposed to have like that. The percentages don't, you know, unless I go back and look everything up on, okay, how many boxes did we actually use? You know, I'm relying on you to provide that information to me, because you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. When this is turned over, Jim, they used, you know, so many square feet of cove base, and you're supposed to get 5%, which relatively comes to, you know, 30 cases or 10 cases or whatever. And then I count, yep, I got 10 cases, we're good. So, you know, when we come to the point where you think you've you know, provided all the attic stock that is available, we'll get you have to have the transmittals anyway for the closeout documents. I believe let's get together and count it all and just make sure it's all there. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, so everything that's listed on there meets what the specification asks for. I mean, like, let's say there's 10 boxes of something. That should meet the minimum, whether it's 5% or 10%. And in a lot of cases, it's actually more than what was owed. But to go through and just say, like, so you want me to say there was 100 boxes used, that's why they're giving 10? I mean, it's that information isn't right there. The subcontractors that give the material are given the spec and given what's required, and then when they hand it to me, they tell me that that's meeting the 10% or the 5% of material that they used on site. So I'm not sure what other numbers I can give you other than what's been given and we're saying meets the percentages in the specifications.
Brian, maybe can you chime in on that? Is this typical the way attic stock is turned over? Am I just being unreasonable with what I'm expecting, or can you help me with that?
I think we do rely on the subcontractors to be giving you what the specification says. I don't know of another project where I have had the subcontractors give you the information that you just requested, that what's the total and what equals 10%. I think that the subcontractors know what they ordered, so we rely on them to say what's 5% of that. I guess the other thing that we could have done in the specs is instead of giving a percentage, we could have just given a quantity. But in this case, we specified it as a percentage. I guess in the future, if we said we need X boxes, that would be easier to quantify instead of just saying a percentage. But it's really getting down to do we have the feeling that they've satisfied the requirement of the specifications? Did they satisfy the intent of what was there to give you adequate maintenance stock for anything you might need in the future?
Well, I mean, this is where we've been going back and forth for quite some time on this, because there was a lot of, and I'll agree with Jonathan, there was a lot of materials left on site after it sat underneath the carport outside for months and months. It was in the Sally port and boxes and piles. And I, yes, was that stuff left on site? It was either that or it was going in the dumpster. So it was left on site. Now, does that qualify as my maintenance stock? When, I've got, if you were to come to the building right now and look at the paint, I've got 5-gallon pails, half full. I've got some gallon pails that, have been opened and to me, that stuff that was left on site, well, what else are we going to do with it? But is that a new container of paint so that when I open it up and need to touch up a wall, it's new? Now, we have paint coming, so I'm assuming that part of it's going to be rectified. But, as Jonathan says, there was a lot of materials that were left. Peter Collins spent a lot of time out there, I believe, with Matt, inventorying what was there. And, all of a sudden that turned into what our maintenance stock was. And yes, I have boxes of screws or boxes of hardware that are complete. Some of them are not. The stuff that's not, that would have been in the dumpster. So yeah, we did keep it, but does that qualify as being attic stock? I don't believe it does. So that's, why, I'm trying to work through this. I believe me, I want to put this to bed more than anybody. It's just one of those things that just keeps coming around and coming around. And I really just give me what I need, what I'm due, and I'll sign the paper and let's be done with it. And I'm just waiting to get to that point.
And I think that's also typical, Jim, that if there are spare parts that are left, a lot of the times the contractors leave it. But that doesn't mean that those pieces and parts are specified equipment. Like a box of screws might have been left there, but I don't think I can go into the spec and say that you are owed boxes of screws. It just happens to be there and they left it there. Some of the items that you are owed are specific in the specifications. So you probably have received more spare parts and pieces than are actually specified to be given you as maintenance stock. But it's clear in the specifications, and you have to go into each section. It's not just a blanket, you owe 5% of everything that's been used on the job. You're owed specific items within each section of the specification. And some of the items that were utilized on site, there's no requirement for attic stock. So that's why it's not everything that is brought on site. You have extra materials. So you have to go into the specifications. You have to dissect each section and find out what's the requirement, what's the percentage for that piece or that product.
Yeah, I have done that, Brian. And that's why I brought up the spare parts that were left over, because you actually even bring that up as part in the specifications that, stuff that was left, extra stuff that's there can be left for the owner. Right. And it is in the specifications, and I read it. And that's why I brought it up. But I think that there's been some going back and forth with 5 Star and myself as, yes, you did leave this stuff, but that's not what I consider attic stock. I consider that the stock that was left there, whether I needed it or didn't need it, it was left there. A lot of stuff did get thrown away because there was, how many boxes of screws do I need? And I understand that's not part of attic stock, but the core stuff, the stuff, ceiling tile, the stuff that will be getting ripped, the paint is super, important to me because there's already touch-ups that need to be done, and having, knowing what paint goes where and having the paint on hand is that's huge for my department and for myself to be able to do that in an efficient way also. We're getting close to it, but I don't call it complete yet. And I'm really looking forward, Jonathan, to when we can just put this part of this to bed, because it's been going on entirely too long.
Yeah, so at this point, like I was saying, the list that I put in, with the exception of the updates that need to be added, that is a complete attic stock list. And the items that I've marked as complete are what we are considering complete. So if you want to go through and mark up ones that you disagree with, then we can go back and discuss them and work on a solution. But other than that, the list that's already been given is not going to change on my end, other than product that's still on order, and that will be updated to the list as it comes in.
Okay. Well,
Jonathan, could you
move on with this?
Jonathan, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, as far we can move on, Peter, with this.
It's fine. If I may ask, Jonathan, could you forward to me the current log you have, the owner training log status and the owner maintenance stock log status, so I can review it with Jim and we'll get back to you?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move down the list if everyone's okay. Next item, number 8, excuse me, ADA, AAB, the variance, anything to talk about with respect to the application status?
This is Brian. We're just waiting on the state and any response back. We weren't anticipating that until January, so it still seems to be on schedule.
Okay, thank you. Next item, number 9, carport, the roof drains, the gutters, that discussion that we had last month.
Well, I'll reach out on that one too, Peter. Myself and Earl had John Fryer come over and take a look at it as far as logistics on where the water would go and how we would accomplish getting the gutters up there. John was quite confident it's not a big deal. He knows what he's got to do. We know where we're going to put the water. I've talked with Lisa up at engineering. She's okay with what our plan is. I did contact 2 gutter companies that I guess everybody's really busy because they were going to come out and take a look at it and give me quotes. It was left with them that they would contact me either by an email or a phone call to let me know when they're coming. And as of yet, I have not heard from them. So I don't have anything to do, to report other than that. my next step probably is to just try to find a couple more contractors to come out and take a look at this.
Okay. Very good. If you're okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll move down to item 4.
Yes, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, so committee members, just moving down to the budgets and the contracts. You're familiar with the formats. The first item is going to be what's been looked at and been used as the look ahead potential owner changes, order of exposure. This is the log, no change since the last period. So it sums down to $30,000 at the bottom. There's no change there. The next item is the, whoops, I missed something. I'm sorry. I went one page ahead. I'm gonna back up, excuse me. Was the construction change order log, excuse me. So the first one is the construction change order log. As you can see here on this sheet, the base contract, 24 change orders approved. And there's still that one, at least I am tracking or listing until further notice, that one change request for the extension of general conditions by the general contractor. So I'm tracking that as a potential exposure against the budget at this time at $54,600, as you can see there. The next page is, again, what we had working on towards the owner look-ahead changes. I mentioned that a minute ago. $30,000, again, not against the budget. And then we have the overall budget, which you're familiar with this format. It's multiple pages. The only update to this is the tracking of some recent invoices that were processed over the last 30 days. I'll scroll down to the very bottom line or the end of the budget. I'll zoom in a little bit. 1 second. I can do this. Here we go. So you can see here, kind of the last dozen rows or so, the overall project total, the unencumbered monies is the $304,294. You take into account the $54,600 and the $30,000 remains potential available uncommitted $219,694.50. And then below that, anticipated if necessary, early estimates for the interior railings and the AAB modifications. Take 100,000 combined, leaves a overall potential uncommitted balance, bottom line, as far as tracking purposes, 119,000 at this time. Now, I can certainly, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the cost of the roof gutters at the carport or the catwalk at the generator, if that's going to come out of this budget. But if it does, you can see where it could go against. So, it's kind of what I'm tracking from my perspective, certainly open for comments and thoughts.
Peter, this is Brian. I do know that the application for the variances is in the state's hands for the ADA, AAB modifications. It's my understanding that if the variances are approved as requested, the $30,000 that you have there noted would not be required. So the intent is to get feedback from the state to see if we can eliminate that $30,000 exposure that you have listed on the budget, correct?
Right, agree. Yeah, that would be nice if the state comes back and accepts that, we can put that 30,000 back in the budget. That'd be great.
Yeah, that was the intent of the variance request.
Okay.
Brian, can I ask the 70,000 that's there, is that for the railings on the in the stairwells?
That's what the $70,000 was, Dexter.
And are we going to deal with that, Brian or Peter? Is that an issue still?
That is still an open item, and that was not part of the variance request. We were asked by Christy and Fred to not include that as part of the variance request. So it's still an item that's open, that I think the town is looking to either not address it this time or resolve another way, but not through the variance.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Exactly. Mhm. So I'll go back to the cover sheet. That's pretty much those items, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Item 4, A, B, and C, change order log, owner look-ahead changes, project budget. If there's anything further to discuss, I'll move down to item 5.
Excuse me, Peter. So budget-wise, this kind of falls under it, but there was a change request that I had forwarded over to you last week, and it was discussed a couple times a few months back. There was town hall work that was done, and we had initially billed it to Forbes. And there was discussions that it wasn't going to be added to this project, and didn't actually hear anything back about it. And it's a balance of $2,376. I never heard anything back from you about it, and I wasn't sure if this is something that you guys want to discuss outside of the town meeting or how we want to go about settling this balance. The work was completed by Matt Rex, and it's still an outstanding bill.
Okay. Yeah, it's not related to this project, so we'll have to discuss it offline.
Well, no, but it's related to this committee, and this committee should be the one that's dealing with it here. If you're looking at it, Peter, and it's to be approved, then we need to, I don't know what the balance is left in the town hall account, if that's been closed out or if there's still a balance remaining, but there's something that this committee should be aware of.
Okay.
Peter, was this the work that was done on the clock tower?
I believe it was the interior plaster repair work in the Great Hall within the town hall, 3rd level.
Right, that was related to the clock tower. That's where the leak was coming out, correct?
Yes.
I mean, I can chime in on it.
We were going to be responsible for, Al, or is it?
That was before my time, I believe. I'm not quite sure on that.
Jim, do you remember?
Well, I don't quite remember who was going to be responsible to pay for it, but I can tell you the details on how this is still hanging around. As we all know, the plaster fell out of the ceiling during a selectmen's meeting, and you know, subsequently the clock tower repairs were done, it's fixed, the water has stopped coming in, it's been perfect. Matt did come over on a couple different occasions and repaired all the plaster and painted the ceiling. They had given a price, whatever that invoice is, 22, 27, whatever what it is to do it. We had it done, and subsequently never received an invoice for 8 months, I think it was. We had gone into a new fiscal year, and then all of a sudden I got an invoice. And I contacted Matt and said, Matt, what the heck is this? I go, you know, you did this month. I didn't receive an invoice, so I had assumed that this had been taken care of in other ways. And now we're into a new fiscal year. I can't pay this invoice. And he goes, well, let me talk to my office, and you know, we'll see what. And then it went away. We didn't hear anything else about it until we got to the end of the project, and then it resurfaced again. So I don't know what kind of, I'd rather just talk about this offline. It doesn't concern what we're here for today, and doesn't concern this project. So,
Wait, this is the Municipal Building Committee, and it's a town hall, and we were responsible for that. And if that's part of the damage that was done from the clock tower, we shouldn't be holding up 5 Star for the repair of it. We should be paying them and then going after the clock tower people or the contractor or the whoever, and Brian would have to help us on that, whoever was responsible for the leak or not doing the clock tower correctly and the resulting leak. We shouldn't be holding 5 Star hostage for this. And if there's a balance left in the town hall building article, I believe that's where it should be paid from, not from your maintenance account on a fiscal year basis, Jim. The article survives fiscal years, so there's not a problem there. If there's money in the town hall building article, then that's where it should be paid from, and we should go back after whoever the responsible party is for the clock tower.
Hey, Peter, do we have any money left in that account?
I'm not fully aware of that without having further discussions with the town accountant. I know the balance is probably pretty minimum, but to what extent, I don't have the full figure.
No, I agree with Dexter though, because I did what we asked them to do, and they certainly need to be paid for the work they've done.
Yeah, Peter, can you get to the town accountant and figure that out, and so that we can get this resolved by the next meeting or at the next meeting?
Sure.
If I can add a couple more bits of information to that before you go any further with that, I did have conversations with Matt Rex, and there was items that he had requested of the design team for the Forbes. And there was an understanding that if we had provided him those services, he was going to withdraw the invoice for the repair work that he did at the town hall. So I don't know if Jonathan's aware of that. He probably is not aware of that. But
So,
I'd like to follow up with conversations that I had previously with Matt.
All right. Yeah, I spoke with Matt last week, and he was still on the same page that this was an owed invoice. So that is news to me, and I'm not sure if that's something Matt recalls. So we can definitely follow up on that, and if there's any truth behind it, we can settle it. But as far as I know, and the conversations I've had with Matt, this is still an outstanding bill.
Brian, was your conversation with Matt through email?
No, I think it was telephone conversation, or even a conversation we had while we were on site, that he needed some help. We provided some help, and he said, if you could do that for me, we can get rid of this invoice at the town hall. So let me just follow up, but I think that's why, Jim, that this all of a sudden surfaced again. And I thought it was an item that had been resolved, so you wouldn't have this invoice.
Thank you, Brian.
Sorry, this is Ian. I would suggest, so just to clear it up, that we do the research on hopefully this goes away, but simultaneously probably do the research to see what's remaining, Dexter, as you suggest, that account. So if it doesn't go away, we know how to take care of it.
Agreed. Peter, can you kind of coordinate that and make sure that Brian gets you the information that is needed, and also the information from town accountant's office?
Yes, I will. I'll work it from both ends.
You're going to have a big list for this from this meeting, aren't you?
That's okay.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we still on number 5?
Yeah, number 5, Mr. Chairman, just kind of a standing item. Anything for open discussions about anything from anybody?
I do have one issue that came up with the in the police station. There was an issue. The state come out, did their inspection again for the cells, and one of the cells did not pass the inspection because the water in the cell was not heating up to the level that it was supposed to at all. I think Jim Stewart can probably upgrade us on this.
Yeah, so I received the report. The chief forwarded it on to me. This was last week. Cell 2, infamous Cell 2, the one that the sprinkler problem happened in. The water temperature when the state came in for the hot water was 70 degrees, which is basically cold water. They had let it run. It never warmed up. I received the report. I went over. I went in and I verified that, number one, Cell 2 was cold water. The hot water was not working. I checked all the other cells. They were all fine except for, I believe, Cell 5, which is on the woman's side. So I went back into the crawl space where all the plumbing is for those cells. There's one of those instant hot water heaters associated with Cell 2. Which is also associated with Cell 5. One unit does both cells. The only thing I can assume is I don't think it's a plumbing issue. I think it's probably an electrical issue. So I went back and said, well, first thing, let's start at the breakers. I went to the panels. I opened up and I couldn't find anywhere on the panels with something that related to either that there is a room number for that cell, either that room number or for the hot water system. There's actually, I believe, 4 and maybe wrong, maybe 5 hot water, little instant hot water heaters in that crawl space. I believe it's 4. I couldn't find any place where it is. So at this point, I'm kind of up in the air, and I don't know which way to proceed. I don't want to call in a plumber, and I also, if it's an electrician, I know that I'm having energy here coming up. I did go in and look on the prints and see if I could find, where everything went back to and locate the where the breaker panel is for that, and I couldn't do it. So at this point, this is a relatively new thing that just came up last week. However, it has not been resolved. There is no hot water in cell 2. And really just kind of looking for some direction. I know we had some problems during the initial inspections before those cells were signed off with hot water issues in the cells. Maybe Brian can help me with that, and on how we worked off, rectified that, or maybe where the breaker is for that. I'm kind of up in the air.
Jim, do you have hot water on cell 5?
No.
So it's
No.
both 2 and 5.
Yes, so both of those cells, the ones they're back to back to each other in that are fed from that one instant water heater. So I'm sure that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
But no, I do not.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Peter O'Neill, of Brian?
Go, Peter.
Brian, what is the life expectancy of those instant hot water heaters? Roughly.
They should go 10 plus years.
Okay. Because I do know they have a tendency to fail, and if this one's failed, then it didn't last very long. I was just curious.
Yeah, I can help Jim with where the power is to that unit. Or you just have to confirm that there's still power going to the unit. But they should last 10 plus years.
Okay.
And I know that they were working at the last inspection, so they come out on a yearly basis to inspect. So there was no issue a year ago. So this is something that's new.
Right, it's not like they're testing the units monthly or anything like that. It's just
Right.
once a year when the state comes out and they come up with a problem. You could have been down for 11 months even.
Correct.
Yeah, Brian, if you
person
could
is fairly active.
locate where I should be looking at, where the power source is coming from, I'd like to just start at the breaker first, and then if the breaker's not tripped and there's power going to it, then I need to bring an electrician in and try to do some diagnostics, I guess, to try to figure out what's going on.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, any other business under item 5?
Just Peter, the last 30 days, I have, just for informational purposes, I've been on the phone and emails with Site Tech. They were the subcontractor that did the remedial paving work that was for the handicap parking.
Yes.
And just to inform you that Site Tech had some outstanding claims, and they were interested in coming after the town for that. And I think through our conversations with Site Tech, we've now redirected them to 5-star. So I'm just trying to inform the committee that there was some exposure there. And now Site Tech is looking to resolve that through 5-star instead of the town. So Jonathan's probably been aware of this too. So
Okay.
did bring up some issues a while back, and it was more towards that the drawings that they were given weren't updated when they came out to do their work, which is why the parking lot needed to be remediated originally, and that's what they're trying to fight. We disagree with that, and I'm not sure of Brian's stance on it, but we actually had to outsource and hire someone else to come do the lines because Site Tech wouldn't even come back for that. So we closed our case with Site Tech at this point, but I'm not sure what else they're looking to get. I haven't heard anything for at least a month from them, so this is news to me that they're still out.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know, and the committee know, just because we just want to know if there's any exposure out there, what it might be. but Site Tech was one of the ones that I've been in conversation with. It may go nowhere, but I just wanted to make everybody aware.
Brian, do you have any idea what the amount is they were looking for?
They never gave me an amount, no. But
Okay, thank you.
it did have to do with the remedial work at the handicap parking space.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So Jonathan, from your perspective, 5-Star as the general contractor has satisfied your obligations to your subcontractor, Site Tech.
Correct. The issues he was talking about were dated back months and months ago, and again, his argument was that he went by the plans, but for whatever reason, they never shot grades on site. And that's really his argument, that because the plans were wrong, that's why he did his work wrong. And I've asked him multiple times, what were the grades when he was on site, and they didn't take grades. I don't know what to say back to something like that. I mean, you would think that anybody would take the grades on site, whether or not the plans say one thing or another. So, and again, this was months and months ago and never brought up until he was upset that he had to do the remediation. And that's what resurfaced it.
So am I quick to say, or should I not be, that Site Tech's claim, whatever it is limited to the reworking of the handicap parking in the front of the building?
Yes, I think that's essentially what he was trying to get at, that he should have been owed money.
Strictly for that rework, no other aspects of the project.
That's my understanding.
Same.
Okay.
And my point to Site Tech was all we were asking them to do, and all we were asking 5-Star to do, was to bring it into compliance with the drawings, with our drawings. We've gone back on how our drawings were compliant. Site Tech's claim was they were following the curbing that was installed by the concrete contractor. Instead of making their own grades, they were following work that was done prior to them by the site work, the concrete, which caused them to then be out of compliance. So I said, either way, it's still getting back to drawings and specs, and all we were asking to do was to satisfy the drawings. So there's no claim against the owner here. There may be a claim that you have to settle between subcontractors, but it doesn't involve the owner.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that update. It's good to know as a background. If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, committee members, we'll move to item 6. There are 2 invoices. NV5, which is the commissioning agent for some services, for $1,550. The second one is UTS, which is the testing agency that we had on site back in August for the pavement testing at the front entrance that we just spoke about. So when Site Tech performed the repaving operations at the front of the building, UPS was on site to do temperature checks, compaction tests of that paving activity. It's $515.
Al, I move that the invoices as presented be paid.
Okay, X has made a motion to approve both invoices. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Jim Stewart. A roll call vote. Dexter,
Aye.
Jim Stewart,
Aye.
Earl,
Aye.
Peter O'Neill,
Yes.
Al Gordon, yes, so it's unanimous. Okay, good. Peter, you want to move on?
Certainly, thank you. That pretty much concludes what I have to present this morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Just item 7, we've been meeting on the first Wednesday of the month. Looking ahead, it would be January 6th, 2021.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Al, just real quick, do you need me to vote on the last piece
What's
of
that?
Ian? Al, do you need me to vote on the last one?
I'm sorry, Ian, that's my fault, yes.
Yep, I'll vote yes, but it's still unanimous, but just to mark me as
Sorry
voting
about
yes.
that, Ian. You're
Yeah,
not
no
on my
problem.
screen here.
Yeah, I know it's
We
tough
would not
sometimes.
overlook you.
I just want to make sure I was make you know I was paying attention.
Absolutely. Okay, so now it's unanimous.
Is Ian formally a member of our committee now? Is he
I
taking
am.
up one of the slots? Well, welcome aboard, Ian.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah.
Do we have a nomination for a new chairman?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Ian,
No,
we
I'm not
won't
in the
do-
committee. I'm not in the committee yet.
We won't do
Move
that.
to
Ian. Okay, so we're
adjourn
looking
now.
at the next meeting for January 6th. Is that
Very good.
agreement with everybody?
Yep.
I will forward updates based on the information we talked about this morning to the committee. I'll include Ian on the distribution list for updates based on what we talked about between now and the next meeting.
Sounds good. Anybody have anything else they need to discuss?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, Dex has moved to adjourn. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye, aye.
All right.
Yeah.
Happy New Year and Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Happy